Hello ladies and gents, this is, as you can see from the picture, Cap is another video, and it's about US Navy SEALs hit Russia's shadow fleet. So it's Delta Force was like, yeah, we're doing our shit. Apparently Delta Force is kinda maybe also on their way to Iran. I just saw the video yesterday. If you didn't, check out the link in the description or end card or whatever. But Navy is like, what about us? We want to do shit as well. So they're capturing shadow fleet of Russia. I think this is about that submarine or something, like carrying oil or something that captured near Venezuela. There was certain news that going around. I was trying to find a video like which is a good video to watch, and Cap is like, here you go. Cap is an awesome channel. I used to react to his video in Task and Purpose, and now here basically he's pretty quick with news and very detailed laid out video. It's always interesting watching his details about things. Let's watch one.
Well, that escalated quickly because off the coast of Iceland, US forces just launched a campaign targeting Russia, Venezuela, and Iran's shadow fleet of sanctioned oil tankers because it just led to a standoff between a Russian nuclear attack submarine and a US Navy SEAL team in the Northern Atlantic. And it's bigger than that because starting this past year, other Western nations like the UK, France, Germany, and Estonia have all started a global crackdown against these illicit tankers by intercepting and boarding them. The shadow fleet is a gigantic clandestine operation that Russia has invested billions of dollars into in order to continue to ship their oil to customers while evading Western sanctions. To put it into perspective, Russia's shadow fleet now accounts for nearly 20% of global oil tanker capacity. So, why do all these countries view these old shadow fleet tankers as worthy of risking direct confrontation? 2 weeks ago, the Bella 1...
Yeah, I was about to say that, I understand international sanctions and everything, but when it comes to countries, things are much more vague than that. Isn't this like that? If you attack, Russian submarine, isn't that an attack on Russia itself? You can argue like, yeah, this was sanctioned, but Russia can say like, I don't recognize your law. I don't care if you sanctioned it. You attack my submarines, I'm gonna attack you. Can just Russia do that? I don't know. This is one of the most basic layman level mentality I'm using. Understand how things work, how sanctions work, but Russia could just say like, I don't care what your sanctions are. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with your laws. Russia can just claim that. How dare you attack my submarine? Now I'm going to attack you. Can they justify attack if you capture the submarine? I don't know.
One sanctioned oil tanker made a break for it. They tried to run the US Navy blockade of Venezuela. The US Coast Guard Legend Cutter class gave chase and followed close behind, demanding that they stop over radio communications. But the sanctioned ship refused, like a highway police chase on open waters. The Russian government told US officials to stop following the boat, but they didn't listen either. The chase was on, and while the Bella 1 was fleeing from US forces, they made their way from the Caribbean into the Atlantic Ocean. The crew on board quickly changed its name while fleeing. They changed it to the Mariana, and they basically swapped out their license plates while on the run.
What?
Then they painted a crudely drawn Russian flag on the side of the ship. Fair enough, I'm no artist either.
This is like Steven Seagal movie. If you watch that, like I watch Space Ice and like channels like that, in Steven Seagal movie, his car's number plate constantly changes for some reason. This is that level of shit.
But the rogue ship now claimed official protection under Moscow. This was seen as shocking because the whole point of the shadow fleet before was to provide Russia with a level of plausible deniability. Shell companies purposefully hid that they were connected to Russia behind confusing paperwork that would make my average infantryman brain explode. We're seeing a reversal of this now because the reason that they reflagged themselves as Russian is because they believe that the US forces would back down in the face of that, and that the US forces
It's because what I said, like, yeah, you could put sanctions and talk about laws, but in the end, if you attack a Russian ship, they could just claim you attacked us, so now that gives us justification to attack you. I don't agree with your sanctions. I don't care if you all got together in a group and decided this is the law. I don't agree with it, and I have military. Russia can kind of do that. I think that's what they were thinking. Now, I don't think Russia would risk attacking USA, but I think that's what the mentality was when they changed the name.
Want to avoid a major geopolitical incident of capturing an official Russian oil tanker, which is something that has never happened before as far as I'm aware. This move complicated US efforts to seize the ship, because according to retired Rear Admiral Kenny, quote, once it legitimately registered, it gets the protection of the flag under international law, end quote. That puts American troops in direct defiance of the Russian government and military. Then Russia sent their nuclear Akula-class attack submarine and additional surface warships to escort the fleeing Bella 1 tanker to safety. Its deadly torpedoes were sent as a message, as an attempt to scare off US forces and prevent the ship from being seized. The cutter would struggle to do anything against Russian submarine and warships though. They needed US military reinforcements. But how would they get there in time in the middle of nowhere out in the Atlantic?
Ooh, okay, you know where this shit is happening. Oh my god. Is this really happening? I'm genuinely excited for the results. What's going to happen after this? This is barely 3 minutes in.
So US war planners came up with the idea of sending a P-8 Poseidon submarine hunter aircraft into the skies above by launching it from nearby friendly
PA Poseidon, because Russia has a submarine nuclear bomb called Poseidon. Is that a knock on Russia? Like, yeah, we have Poseidon killer or something? Oh my god.
air bases in the UK. This drops dozens of sonar buoys into the ocean to map the location of Russian submarines. It can then fire a Mark 54 lightweight torpedo from the sky that then splashes down under the ocean water and homes in on the submarine using active and passive sonar. As further guarantees of safety, the US deployed Overkill with their AC-130J gunship. It has autocannons, giant howitzers.
God damn. This is a genuine, like, Russia v US. Like, every time this has happened since the Cold Wars, has always been indirect, not a direct thing. This is a direct US versus Russia. Fuck you, here I am. Look at my technology. I'll capture your fucking submarine and shoot it down. And here's AC-130 with howitzer on board. What you gonna do? Oh my god.
And missiles. It's a serious, great power standoff at this point, unlike anything I remember in my lifetime. All of these billions of dollars in military equipment are all converging on the location in the Atlantic, all over some empty, rusting.
Now you understand? I mean, I knew it because I've been watching videos for 5 years, geopolitical, historical video. I already knew it. I was waiting for a decent, like, a video to react to. And I've said this in the past many times. But Trump is not some moron who wants Greenland because fuck it. See why does he want Greenland? See what happened here? See when Russia just sends shit, what do you need? If you are complete control of Greenland, that is your base against, Russia and Atlantic. Right? This is why. I mean, I knew that, like, since when this shit started, like, yeah, okay, the way Trump is doing, probably not going to happen. But geostrategically, yeah, it completely makes sense. It made sense before even Trump came and said this. I remember watching a video where there was like like how, I think it was a real life lore video years ago. Where like, okay, submarines come from Atlantic, crosses over this patch between UK and Greenland and enters, Arctic, not sorry, I've been saying Atlantic, not Arctic, like from the north. Russian submarines come from there and enter Atlantic with this small patch here. And I'm like, oh, this is an insane patch. You can clog this up and like just stop Russian ships. This is why they need Greenland. And I knew that at that time, like, yeah, if you have Greenland, you can just do that.
Aging oil tanker. Part of the reason this is worth it from the United States perspective, though, is because the entire credibility of their blockade is on the line here. Then, the US sent a cargo plane loaded with the Army's 160th SOAR Night Stalkers and a team of Navy SEALs to the UK. The Little Bird helicopters were loaded onto the deck of ships and sailed out to intercept this Russian-flagged illicit oil tanker. Wait a second, haven't I already done this?
Basically the choppers. I'm pretty sure GTA game has, if you go like 4-star and above, when those black suit and black cars come after you, I'm pretty sure they also have this chopper. I remember that. I think from GTA 3, GTA San Andreas, probably.
Mission
Vice
somewhere
City.
Before. Britain helped the US by providing their own air surveillance and naval support vessels. The SEAL team landed on the artist formerly known as Bella 1. It got on the Russian ship's deck and quickly commandeered it, arresting multiple Russian crew members. These Russian crew are now reportedly going to face charges in America. It's almost unheard of for the US military to take direct action against a ship that's under Moscow's registry.
That's what I'm saying. This is a direct conflict, man. You don't, like, would Putin take this laying down? That does not sound like Putin. I'm not saying he's going to do something exaggerated, but he might do something that is felt at least at some level. Who knows? But maybe because of a Ukraine thing, he can't do it. But maybe one day he'll do it, he'll remember. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
But what's more telling, I think, is that the Russian Navy didn't retaliate and instead stood down. But that's where things get weird, because the reason everyone is suspicious of the Bella 1 ship is because it's empty. There reportedly is no oil on board, which has people speculating, what's in the hull? Is it Russian black market weapons that were meant to be smuggled to Maduro? Is it a Metal Gear? Is it nothing? What's in the box? Michelle Wise Brockman, a maritime intelligence analyst and expert on the Shadow Fleet, said, quote, there is a blurring of...
If I were Russia, I would throw a hypersonic missile, a cruise missile, whatever you have there, like stealth cruise missile, if you have it, then maybe it might get detected by US, because everything gets detected by US, but just late enough that it hits its target and blow up the ship. That's what I would do. Americans can get pissed off at that. Yeah, that ship was ours and we blow it up. What? You captured it illegally, we just blew it up. What are you gonna do? If there is like illegal shit inside, that's what I would do. But then again, how do you not know Americans are not inside? Like, you need good intelligence, right? I don't know.
Commercial and military shipping around the Dark Fleet. What we're seeing now is something that has really only emerged in the last 6 or 7 months. 6, 7. The UK government said that their involvement had nothing to do with Venezuela and was mainly just part of a...
Okay, my nephew and like, yeah, they're like 6, 7 here, like, oh God, why did it made it all the way here?
Wider crackdown on Russia's Shadow Fleet. A British official said, quote, we are stepping up our response against shadow vessels and we will continue to do so. I thought it was really interesting that we heard a spokesperson from the UK Ministry of Defense say that the Defense Secretary had called it a priority to disrupt and degrade the Russian Shadow Fleet. Pat McFadden, a cabinet minister in the UK, said, quote, the international community must recognize it's operating in a changed world in which hard power is increasingly being used to achieve national aims. I swear this never happened.
That sentence is what I feel about America right now under Trump. I'm talking about now, like this month. Because America could have done this anytime in the past. America's always been this powerful. But there's always been like, okay, let's calm down. Let's not like, like shake, like hornet's nest and shit like that. That is what mentality has been of USA and other powers. Do things vaguely, slowly, and let's not try to antagonize somebody. I think Trump just said to military generals, fuck it, like you have power, do it. What's going to happen? We'll see what's going to happen. I'm not scared of anything type of shit. Which is reckless, by the way, which is problematic. It's like that, like Russian roulette. Yeah, you don't have a bullet, but there might be a time you trigger, there's going to be bullet inside. You don't know what specific thing you're going to do that leads to nuclear annihilation. Who the fuck knows? But in the end of the day, yeah, you're being reckless. That's what I'm saying. But at the same time, US can do this, and they started doing this. Yeah, we're going to capture President of Venezuela. We're going to capture a Russian Shadow Fleet. We have technology. We've been spending $1 trillion for years now, every year on research and everything, right? Our, research department, what is it called? Research department, right? DARPA. DARPA has been doing insane shit for past 50 years. Let's use it. And that's what they're doing right now.
My power. But why was it worth the near direct confrontation? The strange thing about the Bella 1 tanker is that it was originally sanctioned back in 2024 because it had ties to the Hezbollah and Iranian Quds Force. This wasn't directly tied to Russian oil per se, but to understand why Moscow risked their military credibility over one rusty tanker, you have to zoom out, because the so-called Shadow Fleet of sanctioned oil tankers has become really a strategic level asset for Russia, Iran, and Venezuela. It's called the Ghost or Dark Fleet, but what it refers to is about 500 tankers and 500 support ships that go along with it, that make up this armada of 1,000 vessels that operate under false flags in an attempt to bypass Western sanctions. Russia's invested in it since 2022 because it maintains their key oil exports since their invasion of Ukraine. And it directly funds their war against Ukraine and their capabilities to sustain operations. And to give you an idea of just how important it is, it makes up 60% of Russia's sea-time oil exports, and it brings in roughly $100 billion a year, which, to put into context, is more than all European countries have given to Ukraine's war effort since the beginning of the war. This has provided a lifeline to Venezuela, Iran, and Russia. But what route are they normally taking? Most Shadow Fleet cargoes start from Russian oil export hubs like Primorsk, with crude bound west and south. They leave the Black Sea or the Mediterranean outlets as they head through the Bosphorus routes to reach southern and global markets. Or they leave Russia's eastern ports near the Pacific and the Vladivostok region for deliveries toward Asia. They transit via the Suez Canal, they do ship-to-ship transfers offshore in the Red Sea to basically launder the oil with legit oil to mask its origin. Increasingly, they're using the Arctic route to transfer oil to China, and that's why in 2025 we saw the first high-profile seizures of these tankers around the world. French boarding teams took over a Russian oil tanker, an Estonian force detained a crew, and then the Russian military sent a fighter jet to help other sanctioned vessels bust away and break free. The Russian military is increasingly
Hold up there. So the whole point of this shadow fleet, ghost fleet, is that they don't have Russian name. That's how they get around. But if you send a Russian jet with them, at that point it's just pointing like Russian. You're not evading sanctions. You're just saying, fuck your sanctions. Here's my tanker. What you gonna do? At that point, one jet's not gonna do anything. At that point, it's gonna be some kind of a conflict. At that time, you probably send like proper like military power behind these tankers. Can you afford it? Does that even make sense? Like, there's many questions there.
Sending naval and fighter jet escorts. Finland seized Russia's Eagle-S ship, which is allegedly part of this giant operation to cut undersea cables.
What?
Taken together, the reason all of this matters so much is because it directly threatens Russia's ability to wage war. And so the obvious question is, what lengths is Moscow willing to go to protect this fleet? But every action has...
I think that's the most fucked up thing Russia can do, cutting wires. As soon as TikTok goes out, internet goes out, there will be a nuclear war. That's what's going to happen.
As a reaction. And this is a growing trend now where we're seeing in response the militarization of Russia's shadow fleet. Swedish Navy Chief of Operations Marko Petkovic said, quote, Russia's naval presence has become more permanent and present in large parts of the Baltic Sea in support of this shadow fleet. So Venezuelan and Russian officials have started placing armed military personnel on the tankers and disguising them. They're now discussing arming them with portable Igla air defense systems. We know the strategy of cracking down is in the air in Washington because the RAND Corporation...
Same Igla that were with Venezuelans. Man, Delta Force just walk that ass in and grab Maduro. All right.
Which is a popular think tank for DC policy, outlined a strategy to start cracking down on this shadow fleet with seizures like this. Several officials in the UK and the US have hinted that this is part of a coordinated effort to pressure Putin to come to the negotiating table. Former US ambassador to Brussels.
That is another element, by the way. Alaska talks. Putin literally just came, amused himself, laughed and walked away from Trump. That was embarrassing for Trump. I think this is a result of all that. This is coordinated like operations from like all the countries, all the NATO countries, Five Eyes and all that, right? With so Norway, Sweden, probably UK is involved as well, to basically ramp up the shit. And Trump is behind that, probably like, do this, fuck them, like I'll see about it. Like this, there's always been like one president in modern times who can be like that. I think Bush was kind of that, but Bush was like more tamed than Trump is probably. Because he basically talked to everyone, really thought it through, and then attacked Iran, which turned to shit show, basically. Trump basically doesn't ask anyone. Trump said, I'll see about it, fuck you, I'm the president. I was elected second time, not in a row, second time again, which if you think about it, gives him more power. Like, this is not just like one after another. Usually that's what happens. That's not a new thing. If you get elected second time, yeah, that's nothing new. If you don't get elected second time, and then you get elected another time, that gives you this kind of power. Like, yeah, more people want me. So you become more like brazen, right? That's what Trump's doing.
Gordon Sondland said, quote, in this way, Trump puts additional pressure on the economies of Iran, Russia, and Venezuela until he achieves the desired results. However, at the same time, seizing the oil tankers is also seen to be showing that the US has full control over Venezuela's oil. Some argue it's more about enforcing the 50 million barrels worth of oil that the US says Venezuela has agreed to provide. What we're seeing, I think, is like a non-lethal version of the oil tanker wars of 1984, where Iran and Iraq attacked each other's commercial oil shipping in the Persian Gulf. Over 400 ships were damaged during it. And this also shows us how miscalculation can happen and accidentally spill over, because the sea mines laid by Iran to hit Iraq's oil tankers accidentally hit a US warship, and the US retaliated by sinking half of Iran's navy in a day. It's an old naval strategy known as Garad.
Basically, two kids are fighting. I don't want to say kids because it's changing. Okay, two small creatures were fighting two small dogs were fighting. There you go. Two small dogs were fighting, and one of their paws hit a Bengal tiger. And what happened afterwards is not illegal to show on TV. Let's just say that is one of the most insane videos I saw from Fact Nutrition. How US just walk their ass in and like destroy half of Iran's navy like it's nothing. To this day, it still surprised me why Iran would even try to attack USA. It's just like, okay, same thing as like Maduro thing. Maduro's like, yeah, come get me. Yeah, they came and get you. Like what?
Day course, which I mispronounced, but it means a war of commerce, and it's been executed since World War I. So launching missiles at the Shadow Fleet or capturing the cargo has a similar end result. Hundreds of millions of dollars worth of oil and tankers have already been seized by the US and Western nations in 2025. But here's how that's escalating today. And the way they avoided sanctions before was by hiding their origin and spoofing their location or turning off their transponders. But now many of the ships are instead overtly converting their flags to Russia. They're increasingly claiming that they're directly part of the Russian government. At least 17 oil tankers have switched to Russian flagging in the last month. This increases the chance of direct confrontation, and this is their way of increasing their security. Because once the US proved that it was willing to seize ships under...
And there are two elements to that. I think one of the elements is just using a gamble. Like if I say I'm Russian, they're probably not going to attack me. The reason Moscow probably gave a green light to do this is because Moscow is at the like bottom or like back is against the wall. I don't know why I'm having a hard time saying this. Yeah, so Moscow's probably at that stage, right? Where they're like, okay, you know what? If they seize enough of our ship, I might as well attack them because we are fucked either way. I might as well go down attacking. If that's the case, that's probably going to be worse situation for everyone. Because, yeah, a proper invasion war, Russia can't probably do well with Ukraine. It's been still going on. But that doesn't mean Russia doesn't have strategic weapons that could be devastating. If Russia-US directly goes to war and Russia decides to attack in that way, some of them fail, but some of them that doesn't fail. Yeah, this might be very devastating whole in like entire world, right? Because effects will ripple out everywhere. So Russia might be at that stage, like, yeah, I'm at the end of the stage, right? Like, if more of my tankers get captured, I'm screwed. So I might as well say I'm Russian. And if they still do it, I have justification to attack USA. Which again, like I said, like the way Trump is working, yeah, I'm military power. What you gonna do? There are two sides to this. One side is if they do something, you are now under war, which is the whole reason in previously other presidents didn't decide to do this. This is the whole reason. Like they were like, okay, let's everybody calm down. Not because US was not powerful. They didn't want to attack Russia and Russia attacking them be in war. So this is like kind of brazen with Trump. The way he's moving, there could be war. That's the problem. And the more fucked up thing is China might directly support Russia without actually entering conflict. And China might give out like direct weapons and things to Russia if Russia attacks USA. This is like low-key World War I level shit.
Flag, the rest of the Shadow Fleet didn't wait around to see what was next. There was a larger effort. Right after the US captured Maduro, at least 16 oil tankers that were sanctioned by the US made a break for it. They all left at the same time in a coordinated effort to evade the American naval blockade. It appears so far some of the tankers were able to get away. The Shadow Fleet of tankers has become the new flashpoint in US-Russia relations. And the strategic thing to consider here is that once you capture a handful, it pressures others in the Shadow Fleet to not even try to violate sanctions. Meanwhile, at the same time, another sanctioned oil tanker, the M. Sophia, had 1.8 million barrels of oil, and it was captured in the Caribbean by another American helicopter assault. But this one actually has even way more grave consequences, I think, because the M. Sophia is sanctioned by the US Treasury Department as part of the official Russian Shadow Fleet crackdown. So this ship is directly being targeted by the US government because it's part of Russia's fleet, instead of really being focused on Venezuela. So what does all this mean? What are we witnessing here right now? Ryan Seberg, a director of Center for Strategic and International Studies, explained really well what we're seeing, saying, quote, "What I think is clear is that we're entering a new phase of great power competition. Some of the things that we wouldn't have previously imagined being part of the operation are now on the table as options. And once you zoom out from Russia, you realize this isn't just a two-player game, because the moment you start choking off sanctioned oil at sea, you're hitting other customers too, and this pulls in China directly. Because according to Reuters, Venezuela accounts for about 4% of China's oil, but on top of that, Venezuela owes payments of $19 billion worth of outstanding loans that they were paying back in oil, so the loss is felt even harder for China. That's enough money to buy 20 Navy destroyers. The reason all of this has outsized impact right now is because the oil tanker flare-up is happening at the same time as the US and Russia are engaged in a new round of diplomatic talks over the war in Ukraine. The big question is if the United States and the UK will really double down on seizing Russian oil tankers enough to hurt Moscow's bottom line and their war effort, or if this is just a big show of force, a giant dick swing. And if you like this video, check.
Yeah, like I said, again, this is two things, right? American can just say, you're attacking Ukraine, not me. I don't give a fuck about Ukraine. Do you want to come to peace talk or not? Or I'm just going to keep attacking your ships. There is no incentive here. What are you going to do? You're going to attack Ukraine more? I don't care. Those are not my people. I'm still good. Just because you're being defiant of me, I can just attack your ships. So there is like this weird dynamic, right? Where Russia is like, okay, there is no incentive for USA to slow down. Even if I ramp up attack in Ukraine, America is not going to care about Ukraine. Ukraine is not America. There is that dilemma, right? On top of that, like I said, Trump being this brazen and this volatile in a way, has two sides to this. Okay, it shows America's power, which is a lot, which no president of the past has shown at this scale, which Trump is saying everything's on the table, do what you want. We have technology, fuck them. That is that layer. You will slap down everyone, including Russia and China. But there's also an element, if you cut off oil enough and Russia becomes desperate, at that point they might as well attack you. And if they attack you, you basically caused war at that stage, where Russia has very little to lose because they're already losing, and US has way too much to lose. And also, your people don't want war. That is one of the biggest things of the modern times. The American people said, we don't want war. We don't want USA getting involved with any foreign shit, which has been ramping up. This is what I was saying when Trump came to power and he ran on that element. Like, I don't want to get involved. Yeah, the way USA works, the level of bases USA has around the world, the way USA does geopolitics, it is impossible for USA to not get involved. So that is what we're seeing right now. Of course, USA is getting involved at this scale, but Trump is just like saying gloves are off, which has like, who knows what's going to happen. We'll see. Right, well, if you like my reaction, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.